Arthur, you're staring again, Maya whispered, her voice a soft caress that once made my heart melt. Now, it made my skin crawl. She adjusted the gold bracelet on her wrist, my mother's bracelet, and gave me that tragic, rehearsed smile. You keep forgetting, honey. You gave this to me for safekeeping after the accident. You said you didn't want it lost in the chaos. I looked at the bracelet. I looked at the woman I had loved for 7 years. I didn't remember giving it to her. But in that moment, staring at the gold links, the fog in my brain felt like it was finally catching fire. My name is Arthur. I'm 32. I'm a structural engineer, a man who builds foundations. But while I was designing the future, my wife and my best friend were secretly eroding the ground beneath my feet. Before I show you the moment their world collapsed, I have to ask, have you ever trusted someone so much that you ignored the smell of smoke until the whole house was on fire? If you believe that a man's silence is his greatest weapon, hit the subscribe button. Comment the word foundation below. If you've ever had to outsmart a snake, here is how I tore down the rot. I met Maya at a gallery opening. She was vibrant, an artist with a laugh that felt like sunshine. My best friend Marcus was the brother I never had. We built my firm together. I gave him 20% of my company because I believed in loyalty. I used to wonder why life was so good to me. I didn't know I was being farmed for my soul. The sickness was slow. It started with my morning coffee. Maya always made it, dark, rich, and made with love. I didn't know it was laced with a pharmaceutical-grade sedative. It made my mind a hazy mess, and my legs feel like they were made of stone. The day of my mother's accident, everything changed. Everyone was distracted by the sirens and the blood on the stairs. I hadn't finished my coffee that morning. The next day, Maya brought me a cup at the hospital, her eyes red from fake crying. Drink, Arthur. You need your strength. I forgot about it. I was too busy watching the doctors. By the time I remembered the cup, the coffee was cold. I hate cold coffee. I left it on the windowsill. An hour later, I stepped into the hallway to make a private call. I saw Maya near the elevators, her back to me. She was on the phone. Her voice wasn't tragic anymore. It was sharp and cold. I gave him the coffee. He'll be a vegetable in 2 hours. Just bring the papers to the hospital. We'll get the signatures while he's in the haze, then we can finally end this. She laughed, a sound that felt like a serrated blade across my throat. The realization, I didn't confront her. I went back, took that cold coffee, and hid it in a thermos. Later, I had a contact at a lab test it. The results, a massive dose of a drug meant for high-anxiety sedation. Reality hit me like a physical blow. The illness, the confusion, my mother's fall. It was all a blueprint for my murder. When they came later that day with the papers, Marcus was wearing the charcoal blazer I bought him. He looked concerned. Artie, buddy, the firm needs these authorizations to stay afloat while you're like this, he said. I played the role. I let my hands shake. I grabbed the pen and let it drop. I can't, Marcus. My hands won't stop. Tomorrow, maybe tomorrow. I watched the flash of pure, ugly rage in Marcus's eyes before he masked it with a fake smile. Of course, brother. Rest up. The moment they left, I called Mr. Sterling, the most ruthless lawyer in the city. While I pretended to be a vegetable in that hospital chair, Sterling and I were digging. We checked the firm's transactions. On the surface, they looked normal. Business expenses, vendor payments. But Sterling found the ghost vendors, shell companies Marcus had created. They had already siphoned $12 million. Then came the nurse, Sarah. She approached me at 3 a.m., trembling. She showed me a tan envelope with $50,000 in cash. They asked me to increase your mother's morphine, she whispered, tears in her eyes. I took the money so they'd think I'm doing it. But I won't touch her, Arthur. I can't. I looked at Sarah and realized I had one ally left. Keep the money, I told her. And keep pretending. On the third night, my mother woke up. I held her hand as she told me the truth. Marcus, he didn't know I was behind him. He was kissing Maya in the hall. When I confronted them, he pushed me, Arthur. He didn't even blink. I went home that evening, telling Maya I needed fresh clothes. While they thought I was upstairs, I planted high-end recorders in the kitchen. I sat in my car later, listening to the feed. Marcus's voice. Once he signs the final transfer on Friday, we're out. The mother won't last the week anyway. Maya's voice. I'm tired of playing nurse, Marcus. I want the house in Spain. I want to forget he ever existed. Then, the sound of them smooching. It didn't make me jealous. It made me disgusted. I wasn't angry at them anymore. I was angry at myself for being the fool who fed the snakes. Friday morning. The hospital room was crowded. Marcus, Maya, a notary, and my lawyer, Mr. Sterling. I was slumped in my chair, looking weak. I'm ready, I whispered. I can't remember anything anymore. I just want it to be over. Marcus's eyes gleamed with greed. He handed me the file. It's all here, Artie. Just your signature, and you're free. They were so arrogant, they didn't even check the papers Mr. Sterling had swapped into the pile. I signed. Marcus grabbed the papers, laughing openly now. Finally, Marcus shouted, his mask slipping entirely. You really are an idiot, Arthur. Do you have any idea how easy this was? Maya stood by him, arms crossed, looking at me with total contempt. We're leaving, Arthur. Don't bother calling. The house is being sold. You have nothing left. I sat up straight. I didn't shake. I didn't stumble. I looked at Marcus and smiled. Actually, Marcus, you should read what you just signed. The room went cold. Marcus looked at the paper. His face went from triumphant to a sickly pale green. This isn't the transfer, he stammered. No, Mr. Sterling said, stepping forward. That is a full confession of corporate fraud and a voluntary surrender of all your personal assets to Arthur's estate. And the notary? He's actually a plainclothes officer. Marcus tried to bolt, but the door was already blocked by 3 more detectives. And Maya, I said, looking at the girl I once loved. My mother is awake. She's been awake for days. She told us exactly who pushed her. The shock on their faces was priceless. Maya started to cry, the old, innocent Maya act, but I just looked away. I showed them the recordings from the kitchen, the sound of their laughter, their plans to kill my mother, and their smooching echoed through the hospital room. You thought I was a fool, I said, but an engineer knows that when a structure is rotten, you don't fix it. You implode it. The police dragged them out. Marcus was yelling about how I couldn't do this. Maya was just silent, the realization finally hitting her that she had signed her own prison sentence. Wait, I said, my voice cutting through the chaos like a gavel. The officer stopped. Marcus looked up, a wild, desperate spark of hope igniting in his eyes. He probably thought I was going to change my mind, that the idiot Arthur was coming back to save them. Maya stopped sobbing, looking at me with wide, pleading eyes. Her lips parted as if she were about to say my name. I walked toward them, slow and deliberate. Marcus actually started to lean in, a pathetic smile twitching on his face. I didn't look at him. I reached out and grabbed Maya's wrist, the one wearing my mother's gold bracelet. I didn't say a word. I just unclasped the gold links. The click of the metal sounded like a gunshot in the quiet room. I pulled it away from her skin and tucked it into my pocket. The hope in their eyes didn't just fade, it evaporated. I saw the exact second Marcus's face turned from hopeful friend to defeated criminal. His shoulders slumped, his head dropping as the realization hit him. There was no mercy left in this room. Maya's face went stone cold. The mask was gone. Now, I said to the officers, take them. No, looking out at the rain. As the echoes of Maya's screams faded down the hallway, the silence that followed was heavy. I turned to Sarah, the nurse who was standing near the door, her hands still trembling slightly. She wasn't in the room when the cuffs went on. She didn't want to see their faces. But she was the reason I was standing at all. I walked over to her and took the tan envelope she was still holding, the $50,000 of Marcus's blood money. I pushed it back into her hands and covered them with mine. This is yours, Sarah, I said firmly. And there's a check waiting for you at my lawyer's office that will cover your daughter's entire university tuition. Twice over, she gasped, trying to pull her hands away, her eyes filling with tears. No, Arthur, I didn't do it for the money. I did it because it was right. I can't take this. You didn't just do what was right. I replied, my voice thick with emotion. You saved my mother's life. You gave me back my mind. Please, let me do this. It took a long time, but eventually she nodded, a sob of pure relief breaking from her chest as she realized her daughter's future was finally secure. Watching her joy was the first time I felt a spark of real happiness in months. But as I watched her walk away, a cold shiver traced my spine. I stood there wondering, what if Sarah had been as greedy as them? What if she had taken that money and looked the other way? I would be a vegetable in a state facility, and my mother would be a memory. It's a terrifying thought, how the entire structure of your life can depend on the soul of a single stranger. It made me realize that while some people are wicked enough to kill for a bank account, there are still those who will risk everything for the truth. The treatment for my mother was successful. I moved her to a new home by the lake, far from the memories of that staircase. I sold the old house and the firm. Every cent Marcus had stolen was returned, with interest. It wasn't easy to move on. Betrayal like that leaves scars on your ribs. I took up a new hobby, restoring old watches. I like things that can be fixed if you have enough patience. A year later, I met Claire. She's an architect too. When we first met, she asked me why I always made my own coffee and never let anyone touch my cup. It took me months to tell her. When I did, she didn't pity me. She just looked at me and said, "Then we'll always use transparent mugs. So there are no secrets. I'm 34 now. I'm happy. My mother is healthy. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it. A man's life isn't defined by who he trusts, but by how he stands up once the trust is broken." Thanks for staying until the end. This story was for anyone who's ever been called a fool for being kind. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments.